Oh, good afternoon, good evening, good morning and welcome. It's Nurse Richard, the Wax Wizard. Thank you for joining me for this interesting episode. Before I go on, I know you'll see some of the graphics around me, like the subscribe button above there. I often wonder if anyone notices the attention I pay to the other graphics. As you can see, the logo just swooping in from there. I used to just appear it in, just like, kapow, there it is. And as I've got an overactive imagination, I like doing something different. So I look for this software that cost me about 100 quid, all tax deductible, that does things like that for me. I don't know if you notice, usually what I've been doing recently, when I disappear out the video, it's called old TV. You know, when it just goes down that and into a little dot. Kids of the 60s, 50s and 70s, you'll know exactly what they mean by an old, when you turn off an old TV. Before you had a remote control, you had to do it with your finger, you had to get up off your backside. And the one I'm going to use today, which is the only reason I wanted to know if anyone's been noticing, so whether it's worth doing it. I found one, you might have seen it in a couple of videos. It's called Ice Cube, and what it does, it kind of puts whatever image it is in an ice cube, then it spins away into the distance. And it reminds me of, I think it was Superman it was in. You know, remember I don't know if it's Superman 2 or 3. Again, showing me age here. Not the modern ones, Man of Steel and all that. There's only one Superman, and that's Christopher Reeve, God rest his soul. And there's a scene in it where one of the bad guys, is it the guy with the beard? I think he gets put in like a glass box and then gets sent shooting into space. Anyway, it looks just like that. So I'm going to do that at the end. But tell me if anyone notices. Anyway, this removal, I'm going to miss talking about half of this. I've already removed the majority of it. What's left here is a really deep, dark, impacted wax. And I've changed to the fine end tubes. I don't know how close this is to the eardrum, but now I do, because you see there's a little hole there. And this removal, it was the title of the video. It was a fellow nurse. Now, how did I know? You kind of know. Just trust me on this, because I ask people questions before they do the procedure. I need to check there's any reasons why it's not safe to do it, and you can just tell when a fellow medical profession says certain words and says things in a certain way, and you think, hang on a minute here. We don't like admitting it to other medical professions because we don't want to be treated any differently, and nobody does. But I could just tell you, she told me that she was a nurse. In fact, she did the same nursing job that I used to do. I didn't know it. It was for a completely different organisation. Excuse me. She was a district nurse, or a community nurse, as some of the younger kids will be calling it these days. And they were nurses who used to visit people in their own houses, mostly. They did do clinics as well. But it became an incredibly stressful and demanding job, as all nursing is, but particularly district nursing. Because in order to free up pressure on the hospitals, they kick people out of them earlier, and when they kick them out of earlier, they're usually more unwell, so they need a lot more support at home. That's what I had to do. So it's a post-operative care, palliative care, caring for people at the end of life, and caring for people with conditions that they didn't need a hospital admission, but they certainly needed treatment at home. Excuse me, things like IV antibiotics, a lot of leg ulcers, pressure ulcers, routine injections, draining fluid from people's lungs. We used to do all sorts. There was nothing that you're not supposed to do. The reason why I've left a few spots in there, which I would do anyway, as this lady was a nurse, she fully understands the risk versus benefit scenario. No benefit to getting any of them spots. They're microscopic, and the risks not worth the benefit that you're going to get from them. Need a little bit in there. It's good for you. Sorry, I'm getting a bit hoarse. It's getting towards the end of the day. Excuse me. I know I've not done dad joke of the day either. I may have missed it out in the last video. Sometimes it's not appropriate to do them, depending on how serious the case is. This isn't a serious case, just a routine removal. So I will tell you some, but I'll tell you some of my own. Whilst there's a lot of in-jokes amongst nurses and medical professionals. So I thought I'd tell you a couple of them. I'll try and get them done before the end of this video, but if not, just keep watching, because the second one is a bit longer. I suppose the old one is how many nurses does it take to change a light bulb And the answer's, well, you can think of any number you want, but it's definitely not 1. And I worked out it's probably about 5. 1 to actually change it, 1 to do the risk assessment, 1 to document it, 1 to countersign the document, 1 to stand around and pretend to look busy. That was usually me. Or 1 standing around looking pretty. That was my job as well. And yeah, have I got time for them? No, the procedure's finished. No, go on. Keep listening and I'll tell you my other nursing joke. So anyway, there was a guy who was in hospital, quite unwell, and he was wearing an oxygen mask which covered one that covered from his nose over his face. And he summoned the nurse over and he said, "Are my testicles black?" And the nurse looked at him and she's like, "I don't know." She's thinking, why is he asking me if his testicles are black? And he said, "Would you go and have a look? Go and have a look. Go and have a look to see if my testicles are black." And she's thinking, I'm not quite sure if the surgery that he's had has got anything to do with his testicles, but he's clearly concerned about them. So I'll have a look. So anyway, went under the covers, removed his gown, had a look, moved things around. Said, "No, your testicles are fine." And at that point, he looked a bit confused and a bit startled. So he took off his oxygen mask, which was making it difficult for the nurse to understand him. And he said, "That was all very nice, but what I was asking was, are my test results back?" No matter how many times I've heard that, it really tickles me every time. I probably told it in another video, but that was probably ages ago. So anyone who's been watching me for a while won't have heard it before. Old one, but gold one. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. But for now, take care of yourself and wait for the ice cube. Here it comes. And I will see you later. Ta-da!